What is the reason why someone does?
We consciously say, I want to be in a toxic relationship. I think we go for toxic relationships because we're familiar with them. We know how to survive them. When you know how to walk through thorns and shattered glass and you know that you can get to the other side, you've survived it. To you, it's not going to be anything that's new. If you leave a toxic relationship, you become cynical for a while.
Yeah.
If somebody's nice to you, you think, I wonder what your intention is.
I think for me, the parts when there is like a break of trust within myself because I've betrayed myself, I have to also show myself. I can say and be there for that part, but it also for me takes proof and action.
When people ask me, well, then how do I allow people after I've been so heartbroken and damaged? I say you have to have a conversation with the part of you that's really scared to let someone in and tell that part.
Hey guys, welcome back to Almost 30 Podcast. What's up? So today on the podcast, we have one of my friends, Najwa Zebian, and we're here to talk about her new book called The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. Yes, it's called The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. And it's about letting go of toxic bonds and building healthy ones. And this conversation is about toxic friendships, toxic relationships, toxic ties that we all have had in our lives. And especially if you're a conscious woman on your path and you are evolving and changing and you're committed to, clearing karma in this lifetime or having a process of evolution in this timeline, you most likely will experience toxic relationships. But when we think about a toxic bond or a toxic relationship, it's really a relationship or an attachment where the connection repeatedly costs you your peace, self-trust, boundaries, or your sense of self. So Najwa's book is about why we remain emotionally bonded to people who hurt us and why healing can't depend on getting closure, accountability, or love from them. And I was watching an interview with Dr. Tara Swart, who's been on the podcast many times, and she's a friend as well. She was saying that, so we meet people at the same psychological wounding that we are. So if you are in a situation of a certain level of psychological wounding, of self-abandonment, of self-erasure, you will meet someone at that same level. You are meeting people and you are matching your wounds. That is why it's so important to do the work on yourself, especially when you're outside of relationship, to learn your patterns so that you can come into relationship as a whole more being. So in this conversation, I think what was so beautiful is exploring friendship toxic dynamics, what it looks like to have a toxic friend, especially as women. Like we can really have toxic friends in our lives, and how jealousy, competition, gossip can be incredibly toxic to dynamics. And then also what it looks like to be in a toxic relationship, how for a lot of us, we are trying to get closure from people that we will never get closure with. And we will try and get peace from people that have never given us peace in the first place. And it's exciting because I feel like the conversation around toxic relationships and dynamics happens so much online, but there's not a lot of action or permission for us to really look at it. So I'm excited for you guys to dig into that. And I'm excited for you to get to know Najwa if you don't already. She's a amazing, loving human with a pure, pure heart, and I'm grateful for her in my life. So the book is called The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. And it is about letting go of toxic bonds and building healthy ones. And it is now available for you to purchase and order. And you guys can use this as like your healing moment for yourself. Najwa's been on the podcast once before. So if you spell her name, Najwa, almost 30, you will find the other episode we did with her on her book, Constant, The Only Change. Thank you so much for tuning in to Almost 30. I really appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I'm sending you a lot of love and peace if you're in a toxic situation and dynamic right now. My hope is that you can, use this to heal and really see your own worth and your own power, because you deserve to feel peace in your life and you deserve to feel at home and not dysregulated all the time. So I've been there. I get it. And I love you. Almost30podcast.com or almost30.com, Almost 30 Podcast on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. I'd love to see you guys on YouTube. Almost 30 Podcast on Spotify and Apple. Morning Microdose is our clip show, 5 to 8 minutes of the podcast. And then It's Krista. So It's Krista on Instagram, Krista. It's Krista.com for coaching, for retreats, for transformative programs that will help your life. All right. I appreciate you. Bye. Well, welcome to Almost 30. Welcome again.
Having me again.
My darling. I'm so happy to have you. I'm so excited to talk about your book, because this conversation around toxic relationships, toxic dynamics, toxic friendships, I feel like is talked about a lot in culture and talked about a lot in the zeitgeist, but I don't know if it's understood. And then there's also the truth that I think almost everyone has been in that dynamic, you know, of a toxic relationship or friendship. And what I found so fascinating for myself is like, I don't know if you feel this is true, but what I've noticed about any toxic relationship that I've been in, sometimes I feel like out of that relationship, they're not toxic and I'm not. It's almost like we had this magical karmic thing that happened where we co-created this very toxic dynamic and relationship. Do you feel like that's true, or do you feel like someone is just toxic forever?
You know what I think? I think relationships where you get close enough to someone bring out the toxicity in you, but a good relationship for you creates a safe space for that toxicity to come out, and you kind of hold up a mirror to the person and say, hey, look, this is what's coming out of you. And they hold up a mirror for you that says, hey, look, this is what's coming out of you. And there's a safe space for you to actually work through it and grow from it. But the dynamic remains toxic when they bring out that toxicity from you, but there is no safe space to hold it. There's no, here's the way that we can work on this together, or, you know, here's what I'm noticing. Like this side of you comes out when you're feeling insecure, or when you hear somebody talk about their success, or when you hear me talk about my success. I feel like that toxic side of you comes out. And then you kind of see if they're willing to work on it, or if they're even aware that it's a problem, right? I genuinely believe that intimate relationships of any sort, friendship, family, even in work and romantic relationships, they bring out the best in you and the worst in you. And it's just about what you do with that moving forward. There is no relationship that will only extract the best out of you, because we live in, it's the balance of the good and the bad, right? And you and I talked about this in the last episode where we said part of why a person can't really open up to somebody else is they really want to be seen, but they're afraid that when they show you all the amazing things, all the ugly things are gonna come to the surface too. Like, I want you to see all of me, but I only want you to see the good parts, and it doesn't work that way. Because if I give you access to be my source of joy, then I'm also giving you access to be my source of pain. So that's how vulnerability works. So I don't think there's a way for you to be in a relationship with someone where all the insecurities and triggers just magically go away. What do you think of that?
I completely agree. I think that's a really beautiful way to put it, that it's like any truly intimate dynamic will have that element of that toxicity or that feeling. And it's so funny because I was in my long-term relationship for 10 years and then was single and then was in relationship again. And I just like, it was so funny because when I'm single, I'm like perfect.
I'm amazing.
I'm like the best. And then I get back in relationship, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm still codependent. I'm like still like adjusting what I want. I'm still self-abandoning. It was actually like, gosh, I just like deep sigh for myself, because it was actually like kind of heartbreaking to experience that and be like, fuck, like I still have this part of me. I still have this side of me I really thought I had healed. I thought I was done with this. And then I was seeing myself just slip into these same patterns that I had been in. And I think you get closer and closer in your life, you feel better and better. But I really do think that relationships bring out this side of you. And I know that for myself, being in mostly relationships in my life, I've been in, relationships pretty much the full time since I was like 14. I have seen so much darkness in myself and so much like of the parts of me that need healing because of that. And I think without of that, I wouldn't have the opportunity to look at myself and then the opportunity to hold compassion for other people's darkness. Like, it really takes a lot for me to be in judgment or be in judgment of someone else's issue or problem. But when we hear the word toxic, like, do we need to define that? Like, how do you see the word toxic? Like, if we were to think about what that word actually means.
I think toxic is very context specific.
Yeah.
because there could be a great trait in you. Like maybe you're such an authentic person that when you're around somebody else and they witness that authenticity, it makes them so uncomfortable that your authenticity could be toxic to them because they can't sit with it, because it reminds them so much of how inauthentic they are or how afraid they are to express themselves freely. So would I say you are toxic to somebody because you're authentic? No, it's the dynamic that's toxic. There's just an incompatibility there. And then what ends up happening is you feel like your authenticity is too much. And that's what pushes you to feel like maybe I'm too needy because I'm trying really hard to explain to this person why my authenticity is just so beautiful. I'm trying to get their buy-in on me being the person that I am. And so with trying harder, you end up feeling like maybe you're the toxic one, right? When you were talking about feeling in relationship after feeling like you're perfect on your own in relationship, you're like, I still have this codependency and I still have this and that. That doesn't mean that you're not healed.
Yeah.
Because you're healing and you're coming to terms with these parts of you that need tending to.
Yeah.
There is a level of codependency in every relationship. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
I actually talked about this in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, where we have this idea that to be the healthiest person in relationship, you have to be detached.
Yes.
Like you're your own person and I'm my own person. And, you know, we come together when we come together. There's no expectation of me to be a certain way or you to be a certain way. And I disagree with that. I think attachment is one of our basic human needs as children and as adults. You and I both love Dr. Gabor Mate's work. And he talks about 4 adult needs in relationship, and one of them is attachment. You need to feel to a certain level that this person is my safe base that I come home to at the end of the day, where I can be my authentic self and express myself and express my needs and my grievances and bring up certain issues without feeling like I'm the issue for bringing them up. And so when you are with someone who either doesn't have the capacity for that or isn't willing to even tend to themselves, let alone tend to somebody else, or if they've been raised in an environment where needs make them feel so much pressure that they just shut down because it automatically makes them feel like they're not good enough, you're going to end up feeling like something's wrong with you. Like, I'm perfect on my own, but when I'm in a relationship, I have all these things, but it's like those are basic human needs that you're with someone who's not able or willing to meet them. And that's why you end up feeling like, oh, that's too much. So toxicity to me is very relative. If a toxic person sits with another toxic person, they can have a great relationship. They can have a great friendship because they're at the same level of openness, of maturity, of seeing the world through a certain lens, through a certain worldview. I wouldn't say that's a healthy dynamic. It would be toxic, but they won't feel like they're toxic to each other. They just feed off of each other, right? There's one thing I wrote about in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You that I think you'll relate to, but I used to be in groups of people where I would think I'm not welcome as I am. Like I would walk in to sit with these people, friends, and I would feel like my best shot at being welcomed here is to just be quiet. If they said something negative about another person, if they were gossiping, if they were, raining on someone's parade, I just had to not say anything. I had to not stand up for that other person who's not in the room. And if they said something I disagreed with that had to do with human rights or politics or whatever, my best bet was to stay quiet. So I always felt like no matter what I did or said, I wasn't good enough for them. Like they were up here and I was trying to get to them and I couldn't. And then with time I realized, this blew my mind when I realized it.
So living in Los Angeles, I have so much access to supplements, to all the thing. But I remember over a year ago finding the Absorption Co. and using their little packets. I use Restore, Energy, Calm, and Sleep all the time. And I remember really thinking about the brand and being like, this is a genius idea, because no one really asks about absorption of a supplement before buying something. So for a supplement to actually work for you, your body needs to actually absorb it. And that's completely, for me, changed the way I think about my routine. The Absorption Co. is so great because they're focused on solving the biggest problem in supplements, which is low absorptions. Most supplements absorb at less than 16%. So much of what we're actually taking never gets used by our body. One of the things that I use and really feel a difference in is their magnesium. It is my #1 stunner of all supplements. And I've also added their berberine into my routine. This is for metabolism, blood sugar, and craving support. Most berberine actually doesn't absorb. It's like 1%. So I love that they're really focused on making significantly more bioavailable berberine. So start taking supplements your body can actually absorb. Go to absorbmore.com and enter code almost30 at checkout for 35% off your first order. That's absorbmore.com, enter code almost30 and check out for 35% off your first order. Okay guys, this is a little secret, but I actually did Smile Set a few years ago to upgrade and up-level my teeth. I was feeling like there was just a little bit of shift, a little bit of movement that I wanted to have. I never wanted to get braces. I didn't want to do anything insane. And I wanted to keep it really simple and do something that was without the cost or commitment of braces and something that was affordable and at home. So I did Smile Set to just shift like a few things on my teeth. I had braces a long time ago, but I wanted to do this to just kind of like have the up level and the upgrade. And I wanted to have the retainers all the time to keep my teeth like absolutely pristine and perfect. So Smile Set is super easy. Everything starts with the at-home impression kit where you do like a little grid or an outline of your teeth to see what's going on. And then basically your personalized treatment plan is reviewed by their affiliated network of state licensed dental professionals, and your aligners are shipped right to the door. So I also love that they monitor your progress through the process through the app, and you can even choose nighttime only aligners. So Smile Set can straighten your smile for under $1,800 with monthly payments starting at just $89. So it's powered by Smile Direct Club technology, and listeners of our show can get an additional 35% off when they go to smileset.com/almost30. So with this discount, you can get really the smile of your dreams for under $1,300, which is crazy. So go to smileset.com/almost30 to get started.
It's not that I was trying to rise up to their level. I was trying to fall down and crush myself to be at theirs. And they were pulling down at me, wanting me to. That's what, when people break you down and criticize you and make you feel like your outlook on life is wrong, like there's something wrong with the way you see things, their goal is to break your image of who you are. Because if they can do that, then they're more comfortable not looking up at you and how great of a person you are. They want you down here. So I realized it's not that I was working hard to be better. I was working to dismantle everything that made me this someone who's fiercely authentic and fiercely, you know, an advocate for people, even if I don't know them, even if they're not in the room, someone who has empathy. And so a lot of the times when people are in a toxic relationship, friendship, work environment, family relationships, they think I'm trying so hard and it's not working. Why isn't it working? It's because you're trying really hard to make this glorious big person that you are fit into a small box and you're crushing yourself. That's the pain. When what you really need to do is say, that's not my place and I need to stop working hard to fit in, because fitting in is not belonging. Right?
Well, it's funny that even the word and phrase fitting in is almost like to your example of like someone who's really big who's just trying to fit in. why do people choose toxic dynamics? Like what is the reason why someone does?
I mean,
I'm taking it one-on-one a little
right?
bit, but I want to bring us all along just in case.
I don't think we consciously say, I want to be in a toxic relationship. I think we go for toxic relationships because we're familiar with them. We know how to survive them. Better the devil you know. And I talked about this in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. Why not change the narrative of better the devil you know, that you know how to survive, to better the peace you don't know yet. Better the amazing love you don't know yet. Better the unfamiliar that, yes, is scary, but is so good and healthy for you. When you know how to walk through thorns and shattered glass, and you know that you can get to the other side and you've survived it, to you it's not gonna be anything that's new. You're like, I've done this before, and it takes a while to heal, but I end up healing. But then you're standing in front of this beautiful garden that looks like it has these beautiful flowers, and you're like, I've never walked through this before. I don't know how it's gonna feel. What's on the other side? And that's why if you leave a toxic relationship, you become cynical for a while.
Yeah.
If somebody's nice to you, you think, I wonder what your intention is. I wonder what's
get
gonna
the fuck away from me.
You're like, don't come near me with a 10-foot pole.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah, because what happens when in the aftermath of a really toxic relationship, it's kind of like your whole being has somehow been bombed, and now it's rubble because you don't know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
You question whether you ever knew yourself. Like, why did I not trust my gut? How did I not see this coming? Where did I miss the red flags and the yellow flags? And so you're starting from ground zero, and somebody walks in and you're thinking to yourself, I never want this to happen again. I'm rebuilding, and I don't want somebody to shatter that again. And so you're trying to protect yourself. The part of you that says, never again will I ever let myself go through that, isn't trying to make you cynical. It's trying to protect you. And when people ask me, well, then how do I allow people in after I've been so heartbroken and damaged, I say you have to have you have to have a conversation with the part of you that's really scared to let someone in, and tell that part, you can trust me. Because if somebody ever tries to do that to us again, I'm a new person, and I'm able to say, no, this won't happen. So trust me. I know you're afraid to let somebody in, but we really deeply want to be loved and seen, and that's the risk we have to take. So that conversation you have with yourself is you're healing your inner child, and the other inner child, and the other inner child, and adult you that went through a really bad friendship or a really bad relationship. And you say, I got me.
I think too, for me, the parts when there is like a break of trust within myself because I've betrayed myself or something like that, I have to also show myself. It's like I can say and be there for that part, but it also for me takes like proof in action of like, okay, in small moments, here's a chance. Are you going to do that again with this person or this friend or whatever? Like, how can I also create and establish trust like I would in a relationship? Like if I broke trust in a relationship, I would have to show in action and in words. And so I think taking small actions where I can kind of like repattern, like, and I had that opportunity recently where I have this pattern of allowing someone else to pick the pace of our relationship, whether that's a friendship or romantic, and kind of would be like going along with the pace. And in this chance, it was like, okay, I'm gonna dictate the pace. Like I'm not gonna allow someone to dictate the pace, and had to like continue to like speak into like the boundary that I have or the pace that I want. When in the past, I wouldn't have done that for myself. I would have been like, okay, like whatever, like they want to hang out all the time, that, just kind of been like loose about it.
Yes.
So showing ourselves, I think, is a really important thing too. to go all the way back, like what was your inspiration for writing this book? I mean, you could write about so many things, but why did you want to write about toxic relationships?
So about 10 years ago, which is around the time I started writing altogether, I was sitting in a park making a video answering questions, and someone had asked me, how do I move on from this person who hurt me, who's not apologizing, who was not admitting what they did? And these words just came to me: the one who broke you can't heal you. Is it beautiful to get an apology from someone who hurt you? Absolutely. I was thinking back to all the people in my life who hurt me ever since I was a child. You know, family members who, I've told you this story before, like with my aunt and uncle, and how that really shaped a belief for me that said that I don't deserve that, which is what I witnessed, which was the love, the consideration, somebody going out of their way to think of a special gift for me. And in thinking of, for example, a story like that, and thinking of friends in university who just completely ghosted me out of the blue and never really explained to me why, or people that I worked with looking at all the great work I was doing and bashing me behind my back, saying that I was just a suck up, and I will just do whatever I need to do to get higher positions. And looking at all those stories and how I never really got to sit with any of those people and hear them say, that was a terrible thing I did to you, and I'm really sorry. And I clung on to that. Like I was a walking around shell of a person, leaving parts of me with every person who hurt me in some way, and waiting for them to see the light one day and come to me and say that they messed up. Even with men that I got to know on a romantic level, I always felt like, for example, there was this one guy that I dated for maybe 6 weeks, and he came on too strong. Like, I really admire you and your work ethic and everything you've done for yourself. You're a beautiful person. You're this, you're that. And then out of the blue, this is the worst feeling in the world. It's when the moment you sense, like it's a split second, you sense that this person has changed. They don't feel the same level of, I want you in my life, and they're not trying as hard. You feel it, but there is no word to describe it.
Like discard.
Yes, and you talk to them about it, which is what I did at the time. I said, I feel like you're pulling away a little bit. And I got all these excuses. And then he was going away on a trip, and I was feeling down a little bit. I was in my 20s at the time. I was feeling really down about that because I was really excited about this person. And he messaged me when he got back and said, I took some time to think, and I just don't think I'm at a point in my life where I can actually be the man that could be with you because you're such a great person and whatever. And I looked at that and I was like, of course you're gonna say that.
It was all this time.
You know?
Totally.
Right? And why didn't you think of that at the start? Because you knew how great I was at the start. Because this was someone that knew me for a while before he asked me out on a date. And so I'm like, you knew me, right? So with something like that, for example, I held on to that for a little bit, and then I let it go because I was in a space where, since I said these words, the one who broke you can't heal you, where I was like, okay, I don't need him to say out loud, you know what? I was a jerk. I shouldn't have even asked you out on a date when I knew that I wasn't ready, or maybe jerk isn't the right word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I stopped waiting for any kind of conversation or validation at all. And out of the blue, I think I had shared a story on Instagram that said, what's your biggest regret in life? And this was like 6 or 7 months later. And he responded to it. And he said, my biggest regret is letting you go. And I was like,
Classic, like the tiniest effort ever.
So the moral of the story is some people wait for that for a long time. I wasn't waiting for it because I made the decision to give myself the closure that I needed, which was, you know what? Thank you for your honesty, even though it came a little bit later than it should have come. But thank you for at least telling me I don't think I can be the person that you require.
So Upwork, I talk about Upwork with my clients all the freaking time. I was on the phone with one of my clients last night and I said, girl, you are no longer going to edit your podcast yourself. You are going to outsource with Upwork. This was her budget. She wanted to stay under a certain amount. So we had to find someone that would be a perfect fit for her. Upwork is really the one-stop platform where you can find, hire, and pay expert freelancers across everything from marketing and business operations to web development, design, data, and so much more. So you can basically browse their profiles, look through their work, and even get help scoping for a role. I was needing to hire someone for Kajabi within our business to help us do Kajabi. And so I saw this little profile, said, oh, she seems like a great fit. We got on a call. She was incredible with Kajabi. She was so incredible. Whether you're a smaller business or if you're growing really quickly, their Business Plus gives you an access to the top 1% talent on Upwork with AI-powered shortlisting that can match you with the right freelancer in under 6 hours. So this saves a lot of time. This is actually what I've been doing because it does take time to find people. It does take time to vet people, and it's kind of a thing. But I want you guys to be outsourcing more so you can enjoy your life, you can do what you need to do, and you can grow your business and still have time for freedom. And Upwork is that place to have that. At Upwork.com right now, you can post your job for free, what you're looking for, who you need to support you. That's Upwork.com to connect with top talent ready to grow your business. That's UPWORK.com. So your girl's at the farmer's market on Saturdays every once in a while with my friends. I'm shopping at the local spots. When I was in Europe, I was shopping at these local markets. And one of the things I was noticing is I was so exceptionally, eternally grateful that I could just buy with the tap of my phone from these local vendors in these local markets. I got this crystal necklace that I needed, and I got to just do a little tap on Square and make it super easy for myself. So Square is the support for today's episode. It's the business platform that helps sellers become neighborhood favorites. I always just notice that everything flows when people use Square. The checkout with Square is seamless. The staff isn't stressed, and they're actually able to connect with you because they're not fumbling with different systems. And I just love that it brings payments, point of sales, online orders, inventory, staffing, and more together in one place. So these local business owners can spend less time managing technology and more time doing what they love. And whether you're just getting started with growing your business, Square truly grows with you. It helps you run your business more smoothly, bringing payments, operations, and insights in together in one place. So you're ready for whatever's next. And right now, listeners can get up to $200 off Square hardware when you sign up for square.com/go/almost30. That's SQUARE.com/go/almost30 to get started with Square and build a setup that works the way you do.
And I just let that go. Like, that must not be my person. And another story is with a friend who really deeply hurt me, like in ways that, you know, the betrayal of friends. Like, you've known someone for so long. They know all your secrets. They know everything about you. And then one day I discovered that she had been gossiping about me, saying all these terrible things about me that could really hurt my reputation.
Yeah. And
I remember not even confronting her about that because I was that hurt. There was the cry I cried when I found out all the things she was saying about me. I was like, there was something inside of me that said, if you go to this person who you thought would never talk about you like this, would never backstab you like this, what are you doing? It's like, you have somebody standing behind your back, obviously because you trust them. You don't just allow anybody behind you without looking back to what they're doing unless you trust them. So you had this person behind you, and instead of them embracing you and continuing this journey on with both of your lives with you as a friend, they held a knife and, you know, figuratively stabbed you. And what I would be doing if I turned around to confront her is I'm saying, why would you put a knife in my back? Like, what I need to be doing is getting myself the help I need and saying, wow, you did that. I trusted you and you did that. And so that's what I did, but I didn't say it out loud. I just decided I'm never speaking to you again. And I held on to that for about a year. And out of the blue, I got a call from her. Actually, I held on to it, to the story, for about a year, and then I let it go. And then years later, I got a call from her saying, I'm really sorry for what I did. I knew that when I said the things I said, I was lying. And I knew that it was it came out of jealousy. It came out of me not being able to handle like who you were as a person and how great you were. And I did that. And I'm really sorry. And I'm hoping we could be friends again and all that. And Krista, I felt nothing.
Yeah.
The first words that came to me in my mind, and I didn't say them out loud, were, I already forgave you. Not for you, for me. There was no way for me to move forward with my life without making the decision that I'm not going to hold on to the identity of someone who was so wronged by someone who I thought was a great friend of mine. I choose to let you go. And I actually didn't accept the offer to be friends again. And I felt like that was my way of saying, this is how I protect my peace with you in particular. So when you ask me where did this book come from, it came from all of these experiences where the apology that I thought was going to heal me did nothing for me.
Yeah.
It was the work I did to say, I'm never going to give the person who hurt me, who broke me, the thread that's going to stitch me back up. You can't be my healer if you were the one who gave me something to heal from in the first place. And all the stories that people sent me from all over the world of these deep pains they went through. And, you know, I was in a relationship with someone for 20 years and we had 3 kids together, and they left me, and 2 months later there was somebody else, and they got married to somebody else right away and started a new life. And where do I go with all my pain? And I need to see them suffer. Like, I get this a lot. Where do they get their karma? And I say, you don't need to see them suffer the way they made you suffer. Their biggest punishment is that they are who they are. Their karma isn't something that's coming for them. Their karma is who they are. And another thing I always say is, don't give them a taste of their own medicine. They already know what it tastes like. Somebody who's willing to hurt you that way, there's something deeply wounded inside of them. And part of saying the one who broke you can't heal you is also saying watching the one who broke you suffer isn't going to heal you. Nothing about them and what they do with their life and where they go with their life is ever going to heal you. It's what you do with your life that's going to heal you. That's where that came from.
So good. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, because I think that I 100% agree with you in the truth of, like, we are the ones that have to heal and release. And I think that work is done on our own. I always get curious about this for myself, because in my life, there's been such an invitation for greater expression and using of my voice. And I feel like I've kind of bypassed that in the past. And I think there's a healing aspect for ourselves of speaking things. Where do you feel like that's appropriate for people? Like, how do we know we're using our voice to express for our own truth versus like what we're requesting something from them?
I am a big advocate that you should express yourself the way that you feel is best. So if you feel like you really want to tell somebody, hey, you did this thing and it really hurt me, and I don't even know how you could do that. I think it's brave to do that if you feel like that's your way of releasing some of that pain, so that you don't ever look back and say, I wish I said it. But don't say it with the expectation that that's going to make them realize the bad thing that they did. So remember, somebody who chose to hurt you in some way, there's two options. They either knew what they were doing, or they were so inconsiderate of how their actions would affect you that your pain was just a byproduct of their inconsideration of you. Both are bad. Whether you intended to hurt me, like if you and I were walking down the street and I accidentally tripped and bumped into you and you fell on the street, that wasn't intentional, right? Or I pushed you and you fell on the street. That was intentional. Both ended up with you being on the street and hurt in some way, and maybe you broke your arm. So my intention versus how what I did impacted you is no different when it comes to how you were hurt, right? So if I'm coming to the person who hurt me and I'm saying, this thing you said, this thing you did affected me this way. If they intended it, they don't need you to tell them that because they know what they were doing. And if they didn't intend it, they're going to say to you, I'm really sorry. I really didn't mean that, and I apologize that I did that. Or they're going to say, you know I didn't mean that. How could you even bring that up to me? But either way, your expression will show you where you stand. So if you choose that, I say do it. But if you also choose silence, like I did when that friend hurt me, I also think honor that decision of yours. But whatever decision you make, let it be one that you can live with moving forward. And when you think back, you don't say, I wish I said something. But I feel like many people don't express themselves because they don't want to be perceived as, oh, I'm too emotional, and I'm you know, I should have known not to express myself. I want to act like I'm nonchalant. Right? Let your intention of speaking up be to honor your authenticity, not to get to be perceived a certain way. If they're going to perceive you as somebody who's needy or insecure for expressing a very valid need or a very valid pain of yours, then that tells you something about where you stand in their life. You know, maybe you thought you stood in the same home you built together, but really you stand outside on the street, or you stand at the front door knocking, begging for them to let you into their life, right? If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, for example, that's how you feel. You feel like you're always meant to be outside, but you share something together, but you're not allowed in it until you're told, okay, now you can come in.
Where do you think, so maybe I'm delusional, but like I always think about this, like I think it's my delusion, but I'm like, how many people besides psychopaths are genuinely trying to hurt someone? Am I insane that I don't think like anyone's genuinely trying to hurt other people?
I don't think you're insane to think that. I think that shows a beautiful part of you that says, I don't think people intend to hurt others. I don't think you're insane. But I think...
In your experience, you found that to be true?
I think, for the most part, because I don't like making generalizations, for the most part, I think people know what they're doing.
Wow.
Okay? And I think if they hurt you one time, then maybe you can say maybe they didn't intend it. But if you brought up how that made you feel and they did it again, then they're telling you one of two things. Either... I don't care how my actions make you feel, or I know this thing hurts you and I want to see you hurt, so I'm going to do it again. So I think, here's the thing. We see the world the way that we are and through the lens of the pains we've been through. So I see that you're at a level of growth where you can separate a person's actions from who they are. So I think you've healed enough to be able to say, I see you doing these self-destructive behaviors that are also destroying the people around you, but I don't think you're intending to be a bad person. And maybe someone like me who's been hurt in ways that I haven't fully healed from, I'm at a place where I say, no, I think people do intend to hurt others, because the people in my life who've hurt me very much, I am pretty sure they've intended to hurt me. Now, whether that's coming from a place of insecurity in them or immaturity, to me, that doesn't matter, because I'm still the person who got pushed on the street, and the impact is the same. So I'm at a point where I can see a person's past and traumas and hurts and what made them be someone who wants to see somebody else in pain, and still say, that's not for me. I don't want to be loved that way. I don't want to be befriended that way. I don't want to be respected that way. Disrespected. Yes.
Yeah, I think that people do seek closure. And I can't say that I'm like, that I never have. I think, you know, we all have that, like when we're still in the healing process, that fantasy of with the friend or with the person of having that conversation, of saying that specific thing. And there is something really energetic about it, where it's like when you literally do not care, like the day you literally could care less, you receive that thing. And it's so beautiful, and it's so funny, because when you wanted it so bad, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that in your life where you're like, I literally do not care at all? Or like when you wanted it, it wasn't coming?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the more you wait for closure,
Yeah.
the further away it gets from you, because it's something that you're attaching your healing to. You say, unless I get that closure, I'm not going to move on with my life. And so you're comfortable being in a place where you're like, but that really bad thing happened to me and I can't move on. It kind of absolves you of your responsibility to heal and move forward with your life. And that's a comfortable place for a lot of people. But there's a whole chapter in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You called Closure is a Myth. Because I think closure is literally you closing the door on the past and saying, I know what I went through. I know what happened. I was there. I was at the receiving end of it. I don't need the person who put me through what they put me through to admit to me that they put me through that. I wear it as scars on my body, on my soul, and I feel it every single time that I'm reminded of that person. You know, I'm sure you've experienced this before, but if you're in a room and somebody walks in and it's somebody that you know and you love and you care about, and your immediate reaction is, like, you get so startled, right? That didn't come from the present moment. That came from a past time when you were hyper alert, waiting for something bad to happen. But your body still held on to that response, the trauma response, right? Our bodies remember things that we don't. And you might in the moment think, like, what's wrong with me? Why did I get so startled? Or when you have a day off and you just can't sit still. You feel like you need to be up and doing things. Those are remnants from past pains that we haven't healed, that are telling us, unless you do something, you're worthless. Unless you're accomplishing something, then something's wrong with your way of disciplining yourself. And, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think sometimes for me, I think the most toxic relationships have been like me with me. You know, like the relationship of having to achieve, having to be successful, having to be thin, having to be beautiful, having to be liked by everyone, having to be perceived a certain way. It's like I've had people do very horrible things to me, but I don't think it's been as horrible as like the kind of like toxic dynamic we have with ourselves. And even when I was in toxic relationships, it was like I was toxic with myself to believe that I was deserving of that, or that's where I should be, or whatever. But it's so interesting because when I've been in toxic dynamics, like in internal family systems, we call it being blended. You're just so blended that you don't even know what the fuck's going on. Like, I just remember being like so unable to pull myself out and see what was happening and what was going on, and so used to the pattern of self-erasure, self-abandonment, whatever it was. And it just takes a while for you to really like see it clearly and kind of get like perception and perspective on it. Can you talk about that experience of being kind of so in the toxic dynamic that you don't even know what's really going on?
I think being in a toxic dynamic kind of puts if you're wearing glasses, those are the lenses you're seeing the world through,
Yeah.
right? And every time that you're in a situation with this person where they either manipulate your view of what just happened, like maybe they do this really terrible thing, they lie to you, they tell you a story and then they change it, and then they tell you, no, that's how I told you it was the first time. They're kind of putting their fingers on those lenses and adding some blurriness to the way that you see the world.
Yeah.
And so then you end up feeling like you can't see for yourself. You have to see yourself through their eyes.
Yeah.
And the harder you try to get them,
Yeah.
you're like, yes, I've been through that. And the harder you try to be seen through their eyes as the person you know you are, the more power they hold, especially if there's somebody who is intending to hurt you in that way, who knows the only way for them to keep you under control is to distort your view of reality and yourself. Then they will make you seem uglier and uglier as a human being in their eyes. And you become at the mercy of how they see you.
Yeah.
And so when you can't see for yourself, you can't trust yourself. And you're begging them to go back to being the person that once made you feel seen. Because it's not like you got into a relationship with this person and from day one you knew they were like that. They earned your trust, they earned your loyalty, they earned your commitment, and then started bit by bit, fogging up those glasses, making your vision blurrier and blurrier over time. And now you're fully dependent on them. And so I think that was what you asked me. I think that's how it works. It's a slow, I'm going to take away your trust in your ability to see things for what they actually are. So I'm going to always rewrite the story for you. So if I do something terrible to you, like if I disrespect you, if I make bad comments about you in front of other people, if I diminish you, if I call you names, if I embarrass you, I'm gonna reframe it and say your reaction to these things I did is the problem.
Yes.
The problem isn't these things that I did. And because now you can't see for yourself, you see yourself through their eyes, you're gonna believe what they tell you. But here's the good news. There's always a part of you, and when we talk about families, internal family systems, your self, capital, your inner wisdom, even when you believe what they're telling you, your inner wisdom, your true self says, there's a problem here. You're in the wrong place. And that's why you suffer. If you believed them and were content with that information that they're giving you, you would be fine. But there's that internal struggle of knowing you're being lied to, of knowing you're being deluded. You're being made to feel like something's wrong with you. That's telling you, get out, get out. Something's wrong. And I want any person who's in that kind of dynamic to give themselves some compassion, because we're really hard on ourselves, right? Like when you say, no one was worse to me than myself. And it's like when you're in a place that only has poison to offer you, and that's all you're being fed, of course you're going to turn into your worst enemy, because you're not being given what you need to be your best self. There's a quote I always go to by Lauren Eden. I actually put it in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, that says, when you weren't fed love on a gold spoon, you learn to lick it off of knives. And I think that's what happens when you're in a toxic dynamic, when you don't know what true healthy love looks like, because you've never experienced it in your life. You learn to be okay with the pain that comes with the love, with love that's conditional on how much can you endure? How much poison are you willing to take for a sliver of love? So if you're in that situation, do not be hard on yourself. You're being fed something that is slowly killing you, and it's killing your spirit. It's killing what you know about yourself. That's why when you're out of that relationship, you're like, I'm perfect, I'm good. You were always good. Even in that relationship, you were good. You were lovable. You were strong. You were confident. But those parts of you were not welcomed. Those parts of you threatened whether you're going to receive love from them or not. So it was easier for you to hide those parts so that you could still get that love.
Let's talk about toxic friendships a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think our community loves talking when we talk about friendships. And I think we've all probably had a toxic friendship dynamic.
Yes.
And
I have.
Yeah. I think we women all have. I think it's been so, gosh, those are so, I think with relationships, you kind of expect it. But I think with friendships, you don't. So you're kind of really thrown off when it happens. What are some signs of being in a toxic friendship dynamic?
I believe the very first sign that you're in a toxic friendship is, are you celebrated when something good happens in your life? Because many of our friends are happy to hear us complain about the bad things that are happening. And then the moment something good happens, do they make it into a big deal? And I'm not saying do they throw you this big party or... But the words they use, I'm proud of you. I'm really happy this happened to you. See, I knew good things were coming your way. You will always feel their energy. If they're jealous, envious, if they're just simply not happy to see you do better for yourself than you've done before. And I see this a lot on social media, especially with women. They share reels and stories and quotes that say, you know, do your friends watch your stories and never like, never comment, never share, never say congratulations, never. And I genuinely believe that is a sign that that person is not a good friend to you. They're not a healthy friend for you. Another sign is if they know that something hurts you. Let's say they know, most of our friends know more about us than our romantic partners, let's be honest, right? Because it's safer to tell somebody that you're not that intimate with all your fears and everything that made you who you are. If they know you have a pain point, like my biggest pain point, which the whole world who knows me knows because I've written about it in my books, I talk about it on social media, I talk about it with my friends, is exclusion. If a friend of mine knows my biggest pain is being excluded and they exclude me, that's telling me you're not my friend. You're pretending to be my friend to know everything that you need to know about me, or to say, oh, I know her. I'm friends with her. No, you don't. And you're not friends with me if this is how you show up for me, or if this is how you don't show up for me. So look for that. Do they celebrate you? Do they push on your pain points? Do they scratch at your wounds to make them bleed again? Do they enjoy seeing you suffer? There's one thing I wrote, and I think you read this because I put it on Instagram. I have it in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, and it's, I will never sit at tables that feast on the pain of others. And you know why that is? Because I've been the feast among my friends. And the best decision I made was to get off that table and say, I will sit alone for as long as I have to, and create my own table with people who actually don't want to feast on anybody's pain. They want to have a meal with me, not at my expense. And I think those are big signs. And also one that not many people talk about is when you sit with those friends, are they gossiping to you about other people who are supposed to be close to them? Because if they can betray somebody else who they call a friend in front of you, then you can bet that they are betraying you to those people as well.
Yeah, the gossiping is really really insidious and really gnarly. I was at this one thing with a bunch of these women, and they all came together and they were like, yeah, like we want to come together because all the men, get together and they're like, swapping ideas and all this kind of stuff. And then they used that entire time to talk poorly and gossip about other people. And I was like, oh, this is why men are more successful. It's because they're like actually trading business ideas and you guys are just gossiping about other people. Like, good for them to actually be more successful for that reason. Like, it is, I think the gossip thing is really hard. I think for me, I've also kind of recognized that like my friends and I hold each other accountable in that. Like, where we're like, no, like if there is something we're like, I'm not the space for that, or like we kind of like stop each other, even especially with other friends. Like when I have friends that are close with other friends, like we'll be like, you have to process with someone else. Like you can't process with me something.
I love that.
So we can keep it clean instead of, because I do not want triangulation. Triangulation is like my nightmare on Elm Street, like just figuring that out among friends. But I think a lot of women struggle with toxic friendships, and because they do go so deep and they do want that intimate relationship. They do want that feeling. And I think the more that we can do our own healing of really coming to the place of our own self-worth, our own clarity, our own boundaries, and our own knowing of like the no's is going to be really helpful for calling in healthy friendships.
I agree. And I think triangulation is not talked about enough.
Oh my gosh.
Especially in friendships.
Write a book on it.
Maybe you should.
I should, honestly. It follows me everywhere.
Right?
Being in this room, us three, I'm a little bit sus. A little scared right now.
Right? But it happens in friendships and in all forms of relationships. Like,
how does triangulation happen in romantic relationships? I know it does, but remind me.
Oh, let me tell you.
I'm like,
let me tell you. So if I'm in a relationship with you, in an intimate relationship with you, you introduce a third party, like maybe a friend. And you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like maybe your partner, who's a man, befriends or has a girl best friend. Okay? And you bring that up multiple times and you say, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, I should be your best friend. And I really don't care about coming across as controversial when I say this, because I've seen a lot of dialogue about this on social media where women will say, you're just being insecure if you're not okay with your boyfriend or husband having a female best friend. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't think that woman would be insecure, because I think your partner should be your best friend. That's my belief on relationships. Nobody can take that away from me. So triangulation would be, I keep telling you this friendship is really hurting me. And the fact that you are willing to discuss with your female best friend all these great things that you're going through or the bad things that you're going through. She's the first person you call, not me. And they like getting this reaction out of you because it's showing that you care, like that jealousy. They're triangulating you with that other woman.
Yes.
Or they triangulate you with maybe a group of friends where they give them all the attention and you're constantly fighting. But they're increasing. This is the part that blows my mind when I think about it. The way that the reason that people triangulate is to increase the value of their attention and affection in your eyes. You work harder for it because you see them give it freely. Are you having revelations?
Having a moment.
You see them give it freely to this third party, and you say, "I want that." It's like they're putting jealousy in you towards that third party.
Yeah, it makes the other third party the bad one.
The bad one, when really they're the one who set up that dynamic.
Yes, 100%.
So
it increases their perceived value because there's a threat. Person. So you're like, okay, I'm going to hate this person because I love this person so much.
And you're in a position where you're competing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that plays on your most primitive fears and needs, and you say, I they're not better than me. You know, I deserve what you're giving them. So that's how that happens.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I think when I grew up, it was obvious that you wouldn't have a girl best friend as a man if you were with a woman. But it's so funny how things are changing now where like that's becoming more normal. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, so people were like, once you get a girlfriend, you don't talk to a woman. Like, it's like very clear like how you run and operate. And I think living in Los Angeles, it's so different. It's so different. People, it's like so leaky. And so it's been a journey of me even owning my own, what I desire in my partnership, what feels good for me and I can own. And I think a lot of women gaslight themselves a little bit on that and like kind of like force themselves to be comfortable with things that they're not as far as it like relates to men and dating. But I want to talk a little bit about, you know, someone who's in a toxic dynamic right now, like what would be the thing that you would tell them? Like what would be the first part of their healing?
What a toxic relationship takes away from you is your knowledge of who you are and your ability to decide for yourself. So if you're in it and you're feeling stuck, the last thing you want to do is judge yourself the way that outsiders are judging you and saying, well, why don't you just leave? I wrote about that in The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You. The worst thing you can tell somebody who is suffering in a toxic relationship is, why don't you just leave? Because they know that that's the answer. And they're asking themselves the same question. What is stopping me from leaving? It's like because this relationship robbed you from your ability to decide for yourself and to know who you are. And once you start working on that, like rediscovering yourself, what do I want? What are my needs that I've been manipulated into thinking make me insecure or make me too much? Or once you start asking yourself, what do I want and who am I? That's going to bring you closer to being able to make a decision to leave. I would never have the first answer be to somebody who's in a toxic relationship, look, you can't heal in the same place that broke you. Even though I do believe you can't heal in the same place that broke you. But you can do the work that gets you to a point where you feel strong enough to make the decision to leave so that you can heal in a safe environment. And it begins with self-discovery. It begins with giving yourself back everything they took away from you, starting with your ability to decide. And it could be as simple as, what food do I like to order? What color do I like to wear? What time do I like to go to bed? What drink do I like? And what paint color do I like? And when you do little things like that for yourself, you are giving yourself again, or maybe for the first time in your life, the right to your own autonomy, to being different and to being unique and to not being so, the word you used was blended. I would also say to not being so enmeshed with somebody else where there's no difference between you and them. You know, I take this thread with me wherever I go because I feel like it's easy to explain how these toxic relationships happen, what they do to you. They kind of make you feel so like you're so bound to this person. There's no way for you to let go. You hurt yourself. But the more decisions you make for yourself, the more you discover who you are, you're unwinding that. You're unblending to get to a point where you say, I'm letting go. But it doesn't just happen by continuing to pull at it when you're so stuck in it and saying, I just, you blow up, but there's no answer at the end of that blowing up. So come back to yourself. Stop expressing to the person who is very clearly wanting you to be confused and wanting you to rely on them for all the decisions and what you should like and what you shouldn't like and what you should say and what you shouldn't say and when and where you should go and where you shouldn't go, what you should do with your life or shouldn't do with your life. And you start saying, I don't want that, because that doesn't tell me who I am. I tell myself who I am. So the more you do that, the more you're able to unwind, unravel, unblend, and get yourself out of it. But I would say, because so many people ask me this question, how do I forgive myself for staying as long as I did when I knew I was in the wrong place? And I have to say, now you know you were in the wrong place. And back then, there was a part of you that knew that something was wrong. But the part of you that was leading the way for you was the part that needed to survive. And that part attached its survival to their acceptance of you. And so at the time, you weren't choosing to be hurt and to be hurt again and again and again. You were hoping that if you explained it enough, that if you waited long enough, that if you explained it in a different way, that if you were patient, that if you changed something about yourself, you can get them to be the person you thought they were. And once you realize, wow, this is who you are, and there's nothing about you that's going to change. And the more I try to change you, the more I'm breaking myself. It's literally like constantly hitting yourself against a wall, and you're only hurting yourself. You're only bruising yourself and breaking yourself. So if you stayed longer than you should, I think you need to give yourself the same level of empathy you would give any person who comes to you and says, I stayed and I need to forgive myself. And you say, you stayed because you were surviving, and it does you no good. There's a difference between saying, I want to take responsibility for my healing, and I'm not going to say 100% of my pain was on the person who was causing me pain. You can say, I contributed to my pain. You can say, I could have walked away so many times. I should have walked away at this moment and this moment. There's a difference between doing that and saying, it was 100% my fault that I continued to get hurt. Because in every bond, there's two ends. You're not the only one holding on.
Yeah, very true.
For you to be somebody who was trying so hard to explain yourself and to please see me this way, you were with somebody who needed you to explain yourself that hard, because that's how they felt better about themselves. So you were bonded to someone. You weren't just sitting around and saying, please hurt me, please lie to me, please abuse me. You weren't doing that. You were trying for something. So give yourself that grace.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
What can people expect from the book?
I think any person who reads The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You will walk away feeling like they don't need the person who hurt them to come to them and say, I know what I did, or to apologize. They also don't need to see the person who hurt them suffer the way that they made them suffer. But also they will walk away with knowledge on what a healthy relationship looks like. You know, in Welcome Home, I wrote about building a home within yourself. In The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, there's a whole chapter on how to build a home with someone else. What does that foundation look like? Communication, transparency, agreement, alignment, reciprocity. And you'll walk away learning what it looks like to be attached and free in a relationship, healthily attached to someone and free at the same time, to be your authentic self. Yeah.
Beautiful. I can't wait. I'm so glad. The cover is beautiful.
Thank you.
All your other books are so beautiful. Yeah, everyone can see you on here.
Yes.
And where can people find you, and where can they get the book?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Najwa Zebian, and The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You is available wherever books are sold. I also narrate the audiobook myself, so if you enjoy listening to me, that's where you should listen to it.
Yeah, you do. A silky, smooth, beautiful voice.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, enjoy this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Najwa. I really appreciate you. Again, the book is The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, and it's about letting go of toxic bonds and building healthy ones in your life. Definitely send this to someone that is in a toxic relationship, friendship, whatever they're going through as far as toxic dynamics goes, to help support them in their path. It can be a great conversation starter, or it can provide some healing and permission, because I know how deeply hard that can be. I've been there. So I appreciate you guys for cruising with me on Almost 30. It is my joy and my pleasure to be with you. I really do not take it for granted to be the woman that is guiding you at so many periods in your life. I appreciate you. And we will see you on the next episode of Almost 30, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. I love you. Bye.